Welcome to lesson 1.3, Little Dragons. We're going to be talking all about translations. This is one of the 4 types of transformations that we talked about in the last lesson, but we're going deeper this time. So what is a translation? A translation is when you slide a point, line, or shape without rotating or flipping it. The shape still looks exactly the same. It's just moved to a different place. So let's look at these 2 examples. One's a translation, one's not a translation. Well, for the first one, right, if I just slid this one up like that, this rectangle, it'd go right on top of it, right? I didn't rotate it, I didn't flip it, I just slid it along. That is exactly what a translation is. Okay. You see it flips right on top of itself. Now in this case, you'd have to rotate this, right, to get to go over here. This is more than just a slide, so this is not translation. But you get it. You got that. Alright. Can't rotate it. So, let's talk about the math behind it. Where'd my points go? We got one here and one here. Okay. Point A is translated, and this is how you translate a point on the coordinate plane. Point A is translated 5 units down and 3 units to the right. What is the coordinate of A prime? Remember, that is the image after the transformation. Well, this is pretty straightforward. All you got to do is count. So you got to go 5 units down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 3 to the right. 1, 2, 3. And that's where your new point is. All right, that's A prime. The new point is at, well, let's count it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Up 1. So that's at 6, 1. Easy. Let's try one more example just in case. Point B is translated 2 units down and 7 to the left. What's the coordinate of the image of B? Alright, well let's go. We go down 2, so 1, 2, and then to the left 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's my B prime. That coordinate's at -2, 1, 2, and then down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. -2, 6. Got it. For our final challenge problem here, we want to describe the translation that maps A onto B. Remember, that's just what makes this point lay right on top of B. How do I get this to go here? All right, that's what mapping onto means. Well, all we have to do is count. Let's see the distance between the 2. So I'm going to use another color. So to get from A to B, what do we have to do? Well, I have to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so I went down 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and over 1, 2, 3. So all you got to say to map A onto B, you have to translate. All right, you have to specify what kind of transformation you're doing. Translate A down 10 and to the right 3. So in this example, we're really going to be looking at the notation that we use in translations. So given in triangle ABC, we have A at -2, 3, B at 3, 7, and R at 7, 2. A translation of xy turns to x plus 3, y minus 4 is applied to triangle ABC. What are the coordinates of A prime, B prime, C prime? So the only difficulty here is really understanding what this means. And all this is telling us to do is take all of our coordinates, each of the coordinates, and add 3 to all the x's and subtract 4 from the y's. That's all it wants us to do. Alright, so let's try this out. We know A is at -2, 3. Alright, A is at -2, 3. B is at 3, 7, and R is at 7, 2. This translation tells us to add 3 to all the x's, so let's add 3 to each one of our x's. These are all our x's. So -2 plus 3 is going to be 1, 3 plus 3 is 6, and 7 plus 3 is 10. Now we're going to subtract 4 from all our y's, because that's what it's telling us to do. So 3 minus 4 is -1, 7 minus 4 is 3, and 2 minus 4 is -2. Let's take a look at our graph and see if we got this right. So A is at -2, 3. All right, that's our A. B is at 3, 7. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And C is at 7, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2. That's our first, that is our pre-image. All right, using our math vocab. All right, so that is our original triangle, the pre-image. Now, let's move on to our next triangle. This is the image. So A prime is at 1, -1. Okay. B prime is at 6, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. And C prime is at 10, which is all the way over here, -2. All right, we're going to connect up our triangle, make it look all pretty like. Let's get some nice coloring on it. Okay. Bing, bang, boom. All right, and we are going to just label it out. All right, because we are good math students. A prime, B prime, C prime. And if you look here, it worked. What we just did here was we added the x's all moved to the right 3 and the y's all went down 4, and it didn't rotate, it didn't flip. That is a translation. Now the next question says, is this a rigid transformation? Explain. Well, we should know by now that a translation is a rigid transformation because it preserves the distance between points, which is just a fancy way of saying it stays the same shape and size. So yes, because it preserves the distance between points. None of that middle school language where we say it's the same size, so yes, it's a rigid transformation. It's a rigid transformation because it preserves the distance between points, which is just a really fancy way of saying it's the same size. All right, 2 more examples. We're going to be doing translations with no grid. All right? If you're performing a translation of a shape not on a grid, you can no longer say move it up 1 unit or 3 units to the right because there's no grid there and there's no units. So you must define, this is the big part right here, you must define a line of translation yourself. And I'll show you how this is done. So we want to describe a translation that maps ABC onto DEF. We want to get this triangle on top of this triangle. How do we do it? Alright, so this is what you do. You pick 2 points, alright, what's going to be translated onto what? So A is going to be translated onto E, right? That's what's probably going to happen. Now that is what's going to happen. So what you do is you basically just draw a line there. Alright, we draw a line through A and E. This one's kind of messed up. Alright. And if you look here, if I were translating this whole triangle along this line, so look at this. I'm going to just stay on this line that I put here, right? It just stays on that line. If I stay on that line, look, it goes right over it. So, what that shows us is this. This is how you write it. If I want a translation that maps ABC onto DEF, the way to do that, alright, is going to be a translation along the line AE. AE, don't forget our line over it. And that will map triangle ABC onto triangle DEF. Alright? Now you could pick any of the lines here, alright, as long as they're corresponding to each other. So what I mean by that is, look, we know C will map to F, right? C is going to map to F. So we can draw a line there too. Let me find my line. Alright, C to F. So let's draw our line. Alright. So we're just going to draw our line CF. Now look, if our triangle ABC just goes along this line, right? It just stays along this line, translates on it, it just shifts. Sure enough, it'll end up on that other triangle. That will work out perfectly. This only doesn't work if you pick 2 points that aren't going to map onto each other. So like for example, B won't map onto E. If you pick those 2 points, which aren't correct, right? Let's say I go I pick B and E. See, those don't map onto each other. If I took B and I mapped and I moved the triangle, oh, look at that. It doesn't end up in the right spot. So you have to pick the 2 points that will map onto each other. A maps onto E, C maps onto F, B maps onto D. You have to pick the right 2 points. Alright, a little trick to doing that, alright, is it'll always be in the same order. So A will always map onto D because they are the first, okay? And why? Because it's always in the same order. Alright, and that'll help you a lot in this unit. B is going to always map onto E because it's the second one. And finally, we know C maps onto F, right? Because of the order of them. Got that? That's a little trick for helping you. So just a translation, you find the line, you move it along that line. That's how you map it onto each other. Let's try another one with circles, okay? That's a little weirder. We want to describe a translation that maps circle O onto circle B. Well, the only points I know here, the only defined points are O and B. So let's make that our line, right? Those are the centers of the circle, by the way. We always name circles by their centers. So let's connect these 2 points, right? And so let's move this circle along that line. All right, it's moving, and boom, it goes right on top of it. All right. Sorry, you couldn't come for the trip. Oh, let's try that again. So it just goes along the point, and boom, it lands on top of it. Beautiful. So, if we want to map circle O onto circle B, it's going to be a translation along the line OB. Those are our 2 points. Okay, OB, draw the line. We'll map circle O onto circle B. All right. Actually, that's not a way to do it. You actually have to write circle. I just have time. So circle O onto circle B. All right, guys, that's it for this lesson. Remember to, help people in need, and don't yell at your girlfriend because she'll just get mad at you, and then you'll have a fight, and it's bad. Not that that happened to me. That didn't happen to me. I'm just saying that could happen. It didn't happen to me. Maybe it happened to me.